Okay. I think I'll get started. Um, Welcome, everybody. Um, my name is Ian West. I'm the Director of Programming for Impact Coaching Network, and a lot of your, probably all of your kids' chess programs. Um, we're going to have an info session tonight about the Elementary National Championship, which will be taking place early in May. We're going to walk through some basics about not just how to attend this tournament or what the details of attending this tournament might be, but also a little bit about the why. Turns out there's a little bit of a why question as well. I think something we've discovered since we come back into schools in the last couple of years is that we have a very large percentage of new families that are part of our network and part of what we're doing with chess and competitive chess. And so these Zoom sessions, I think, have continued to be useful just to keep everyone up to speed about what competitive chess is about. It gives us a way to communicate a lot of information quickly to a lot of people. Our coaches do this all the time in clubs. They talk to your kids all the time in clubs about this stuff. But this gives us a chance, it gives you a chance to hear from me directly, and just to get some lay of the land and some sense about why we do it, what it's for. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to kind of basically walk through the main website for the event and speak to some of the main logistical points to do with the event. And then I might talk at the end a little about the philosophical side of it, the sort of the purpose, why we drive teams to be competitive, why we don't just play chess in libraries and hang out and then go home. We're also lucky enough to have a representative of the event here tonight. One of the organizers is here tonight. Danny Rhodes joining us, so he's going to jump on the mic a little later. So first thing I'm going to do is share my screen, and we're going to kick that off. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen okay. Everybody can see the screen okay? Good, I see some thumbs. Good. As is usually the case, I think typically I'm not the best at managing the chat and everything as we go. What we're going to do is if you have a question pop up, you are welcome to unmute and simply ask it. I'm happy to talk about things that occur to you on the fly. It's no big deal. I would also just say generally, if you put something in the chat, I will be circling back to the chat later at the end and just addressing chat questions. I think the coaches and the directors tend to pop in here, and they might help jump in and address stuff in the chat as well. So if you have something that pops into your head and I'm just kind of moving a mile a minute and I go past your thought, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Oh, I see Danny's in there. He might answer questions as well if they pertain to logistics and details of that sort. So this is the main website, and I am also going to try to drop these links into the chat as I go as well. So you can grab these websites as we go, and then you can bookmark them and you can return them later. And I'm going to try to be as vivid as possible about all the main sections that pertain to what it would mean for you to bring your child to this event from start to finish. So the link I dropped is for the main page of the event through the United States Chess Federation. United States Chess Federation, aka USCF, the governing body of chess in the United States, and they provide us a superstructure of rated tournaments and play from local to city to state to national events. They give us a system we can use to understand how we make progress. Essentially, a rating system and a tournament circuit that allows your child to not just learn something, but test and use what they learn and understand how they're making progress. It's a very important part of the chess experience. If you play at your local library, you play your grandpa, you have a certain kind of experience. If you play rated chess and you track your progress with the tools on USCF and in your clubs, you have a different kind of experience. I'm not to say playing chess in your library or against your grandfather is not as valuable. those serve their ends as well. And obviously, I grew up playing against my dad, and that was extremely formative in my life, playing against my dad. But playing rated chess was a sort of a next level experience in that way. So we like to involve ourselves in this endeavor. And the National Elementary Championship every year happens in May, is the pinnacle of this for scholastic players, for anyone in the world of K-12 chess. So the main website, I'm just going to go through some of the main points about this event, logistics, and I'm going to point out a couple things I've discovered just doing a little research. The event's taking place this year in Baltimore. Now, the event has bounced around a little bit. It's been in Nashville a bunch. It was in Denver one year. It's, you know, the event can move around a bit, but right now it's in Baltimore, and we're happy for that. Baltimore is extremely good news. It's in Baltimore because Baltimore is easy to get to. You can jump in a car and be in Baltimore in a few hours. Okay, it's not the same as if it's in Nashville or Denver. You got to be on a plane to get there, or an extremely long and excruciatingly painful bus trip. You can be, you can be in Baltimore in an afternoon or a morning in a car, and as I will show you very soon, there are a lot of public transport options as well. Okay, it's at 1 West Pratt Street in Baltimore, Maryland. That's downtown Baltimore. That is, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I admit people in, and I don't want to leave anybody out of the thing here. Forgive me. So if you pull up a Google map of Baltimore, you will see that the Baltimore Convention Center, the site in question, is smack dab in the middle of downtown Baltimore, right next to Camden Yards, where the Orioles play. National Aquarium's right down the street. It's, you know, it's right in the heart of the map. I mean, it's directly there in the heart of the map in Baltimore. And this is good news, again, because it's easy to get to. Now, if you look at the website, again, you will notice that there are several hotels listed as being available for the event. These hotels are all linked, essentially linked to the convention center or in the convention center area. There you can get, you know, by catwalk or whatever. I haven't actually verified all of them, but they're all connected to the event on the website. Means that they are, you know, you can throw a rock from your hotel room to the convention center or the playing area. It's that close. But what I discovered when I spent a little time looking at this is, if you zero in on the convention center a little bit, what you notice is, if I can get it to come up, there we go. There are a lot of hotels in this area, a lot. And I'll tell you right now, sometimes these hotels, you know, the ones that are connected to the event sell out fast, and you don't always get what, you know, the room that you want and the spot you want. But I think I counted about, these are all hotels, these are hotels, this is a hotel. I think I counted about 9 total hotels within a 10-minute walk of the venue, the main playing venue. And what that means is you're going to find a room, or you're not going to be staying in a, you know, in somebody's suitcase in some space. You can find a room. Rooms will be available. I haven't actually, I think we've booked a block of rooms for our coaches already, and I think we got a block of rooms nearby. I don't even think we're in the main convention center. I think we've found a block of rooms offsite. I'm not certain exactly, but a lot of hotel rooms means there's a lot of options. Now, what I recommend you do is go to these linked hotels and ask for the chess rate. Just say you're going to be in town for the event, cite the date, tell them you're in town for the event, and ask them for the chess rate. Usually is a chess rate for these things. It's, you know, it may or may not be a significant discount, but it usually is a lower rate than their average ordinary day rate. So ask for that. If they tell you the blocks are all sold out, it's all gone, then you can widen your search a bit. You can, and I promise you will find something close. These, I did Google Map connections here. These are all like 6, 8, 9-minute walks from the convention, the playing area, what will be the playing area. The convention center itself, as you might imagine, is an enormous, you know, it's a convention center. It's one of these gigantic, like several block sized buildings with lots of glass and steel, lots of light, and lots of weird carpets. And essentially the the playing area, it looks to me just at a glance, let me see if I can bring this up here. I don't want the map. It looks to me like the team room areas and the playing area are all, it's going to be pretty well structured and easy to find things is my guess. Now, USCF has not opened the door to team rooms yet. They just opened the doors to middle school team rooms today or recently, yesterday. And so we don't know yet what team rooms we're going to have access to. But what this looks like to me is a lot of team rooms of various sizes, and we will be making sure that we get sufficient space. So I'll be in touch with them as soon as those are open and available. I'll be in touch with them to make sure we have nice team rooms for all of our squads, for all of our groups, our networks, and our teams, and everybody's going to be comfortable. I think this looks like a great setup. I think if you're looking at, let me see if I can do this again. Sorry. That was the team room level. I'm not sure. I'm sure Danny can speak to the question of if they're going to be. I'm guessing they're going to be holding this in the main ballroom area, or they're on the 4th floor. It'll be one floor above, or it'll be on the floor below. They have a net, like a honeycomb of smaller ballroom areas that. What they're going to do, one or the other of those, and it'll be one floor up, up a flight of stairs to get to the playing area, or down a flight of stairs to get to the playing area. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. It does not look to me at all troublesome. The point I was going to make about this setup here is that if you look at this map, you see that there are stairwells on just basically every part of this floor has got, like, access, up and down access from one floor to another. So wherever your team room is, you're going to have a nearby stairwell that will take your kids to the playing area with no problem. So that should be okay, I think. And if you've got one of the hotels that's nearby, directly nearby, then you should be fine. USCF is going to be running a couple town halls in early May. I'll point this out on the website. Just bookmark this for future reference. If you want to be able to speak directly to the organizers, they're going to run a couple town halls, May 1st and May 3rd. Probably pick one of those and jump in and check it out. I think it's worth seeing. The event itself has 13 sections. Now, 13 sections encompasses K through 6. I'm going to make this slightly bigger. I'm not sure if this has been painful to look at, but I'm making it a little bigger. Hopefully that helps. Now we have, I think, most of our teams and schools are K5. That's 9 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We do have schools such as Nest that have 6th graders that can come and play. And those directors and teams and players will plan accordingly. But the vast majority of our teams will fall in the K5 rubric. Now, I'm going to talk for a little bit later about what it means to be in a K5 championship section versus a K5 under 12 or under 9 section, what the difference is in that. That will be an important thing to notice. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing I forgot to mention about the convention center, the playing area. I went to all this trouble and I forgot to mention. I looked up Amtrak, Penn Station in Manhattan to Penn Station in Baltimore. And there are about, there are over 30 trains a day going from here to there. So I got 36 hits across the day. And I can only assume there are a plentiful number of trains back. The coach seats are pretty inexpensive. And as you can see, it's about a 3-hour trip, seems to be about a 3-hour trip, 2.5 to 3 hour trip on the train, depending on which train you're taking. Likewise, I looked up buses. Now this is, by the way, just me going to Amtrak's main page. I mean, if you just Google Amtrak and go to their main page, same thing, go to Greyhound, go to their main page, make sure you put in the correct date, May 11th, which I'll explain in a second. New York to Baltimore. And again, you can take about 8,000 buses that day. Prices range a bit for buses. And I think the trip tends to be a little longer, looks like maybe a little longer on average. And I think that the importance of this really is just, it's easy to get there and back. People are going to be driving. You're probably going to have teammates on your in your club who are driving with that will happily carpool. You throw in gas money and everybody's happy. You get there and you get back with relative ease. I think I'm going to be taking an Amtrak. I'll figure out some Amtrak. I think it'll be simple. I do want to stress the importance of traveling on Thursday. And what I mean by that is we can return to the schedule. We can go to the schedule here. I'll go down a little bit in the main webpage. You will notice that the national championship is a 3-day event. It's a big commitment for you and for your kids. Very big commitment. And you've got rounds on Friday, you've got rounds on Saturday, and you've got rounds on Sunday. In an ideal world, you do not want to travel to Baltimore on Friday morning. Now you can tell if you look at the Amtrak, you could drag yourself and your kid out of bed at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., or even as late as 8 or 9 a.m. and get yourself there in a timely fashion. You could do it. You could leave the house at 7 a.m. and you could have your child at the board ready to play at round 1 at 1 o'clock. It can be done. I don't recommend it because travel is, even though you're sitting there staring at your device or the back of the seat in front of you, or dealing with your kid, their revolving snacks and whatever, it will wear you out. It wears kids out to be in transit the morning of play. Kids who go on Friday morning, they don't have great win percentages. They can do it. They don't have great win percentages. And so I recommend going Thursday, the 11th, because the event will start on the 12th. But so I just want to make that point. I'm stressing that point a bit because I think if there are financial considerations that you're juggling here and you don't want to have extra hotel nights, then chop Thursday and go Friday morning. Do it. Same thing with the outro of the event. So the award ceremony is Sunday night at 6. Okay. And the last round plays at 7. And the round will be done by 5. Okay. You can be out the door. You can be grabbing your stuff and your kid and heading out the door at 5 o'clock. You can get on that Amtrak, whichever one, I'm sure I didn't look at the return times, but I guarantee you there are trains that leave Sunday afternoon, evening, that will get you home Sunday night. If you want to chop Thursday night and Sunday night off the hotel bill and just pay for Friday night and Saturday night, it can be done. It can be done. It can be done. And you can have a great experience as well. I just think if there's a way to do it, share a hotel room with a friend, another family, you and your kid, a friend and their kid, you guys bunk in a room together, you split the hotel costs, you go by Amtrak, it's $28 a head or whatever, $56 a head. The best experience to have is to go Thursday night. Is just wake up Friday morning, refreshed, get your coffee, your breakfast, enjoy a little fresh air in Baltimore, go to the team room at 10 or 11, see the coaches, have some strategy sessions, have a little lunch, and go off to round 1 feeling great, ready to play, ready to knock it out. That is the way to do it, in my opinion. Likewise, just for the sake of ease, on Sunday nights, you get to go to the award ceremony with your team. You get to see things happen. You get to see the awards. Everyone has fun. Kids go to the pool, whatever. You go out Friday, you go out Monday morning, you get home. I see in the chat, there's a question about whether or not kids have school on Friday or Monday. I don't know exactly. I have not checked the DOE calendar. I assume, yes, usually they have school on that Friday and that Monday. So they would be missing. I do know that in my experience, most principals and schools regard these as excused absences if you can, if you make the arrangement as such. You have to make the arrangement as such with the school that they know why you're out. Oh, someone has annotation. Oh, great. I gotta turn off the annotations. Anyway, just don't write on the screen, please. Whoever was doing that. So I was saying you can go out Monday morning, see the awards and have a more relaxed time, or just jump on the train Sunday evening and get home, and you can be home by midnight. It's a long day, but it can be done that way. And so I think that's all I want to say about the logistics of the event as far as where it's at and how to get there and how to get back. If you have any questions about that, throw them in the chat. We can circle back to it later. Round times are noteworthy. Just make sure you're marking this. If you're playing in any section other than K1, your rounds are on the dot, except for round 4 is at 1:30, but they're 1 and 6, 9, 1:30 and 6, 9 and 1:30. The K1 sections are staggered by half an hour, but please note that sometimes the stagger is after, as in the case of round 1, and sometimes the stagger is before, as in the case of round 2. So if you're in K1, you just got to track that difference. We always write these schedules down and post them in the team rooms, make sure everyone can see them. We make announcements. Our directors make sure everyone is aware of that fact. I know also, I think I saw Alexis and Jenny are here. Our directors will send recommendations to you for what section to play in. Actually, I'm not sure, but I thought I saw one of those come through. Well, anyway, I don't have one handy, but our directors are sending out recommendations to all parents, so you'll know what section to put your kid in. If you don't know or you need help with it, email me or email a director and just ask. We'll help. And the bottom line is, if you get your kid in the wrong section, it can be fixed. So registering in a timely fashion and getting on the books is a good idea, and then worry about making it all perfect after the fact. But I mean, I think there's still time right now. Oh my gosh, this is a Zoom. The way the Zoom does this, I'm trying to put something in the chat. Gmail. It likes to correct my spelling. I'm putting my email address in the chat now, iwest.icn@gmail.com. So if you have questions, you can direct them to me. You can just email me directly. Awards. There are a lot of awards at nationals. They give a lot of prizes. It's great. They don't give as many awards as they used to give, but in a way that's kind of better. It's tightened up a little bit. You'll notice that for a lot of the sections, there are the individual prizes are top 10 or top 15. The reason they're different section by section is just because some of these sections are notoriously larger than others. So K5 under 900 is one of the biggest sections, and so it has the highest number of prizes, top 15 teams, top 25 individuals. That's the way that goes. Smaller sections have tighter prizes. K6 championship is famously a small section and has only top 5 teams and only top 10 individuals. So you can track that for your individual kid. They have class prizes, which are nice. A class prize is if you're playing in an open section, but you're a lower rated player, they have rating specific prizes. So, if you're playing in K6 championship and you're under 1,000, there's a prize designated for your level of play, even within the greater championship section. So it's kind of a nice feature to have class prizes. It's worth pointing out that team scores for the teams are given as top 4 boards for each squad in each section. This is important to know. I was looking at this. I was looking up last year's results. This was interesting. We had a team finish in first in the K5 under 900. This is PS 130, the Parkside School in Brooklyn, headed up by our esteemed colleague, Alexis Paredes. And they had 10 kids in that section. That's what this number here represents. This is the number of kids that Alexis put in that section to represent that team. Only the top 4 of their scores counted for the team score. But obviously, the bigger your army, the better your odds of striking through. And so Alexis actually has, you see the team finished with 6 kids listed. Now, that doesn't mean all 6 of their scores counted. What that means is these final 3 here, Hunter, Isaac, and Carlin, they tied for the 4th best score. And so they all got named, even though only 4 raw points counted. So basically you could say Hunter's 4 points counted. Isaac and Carlin are listed there sort of in honor of their hitting 4. But you notice that the teams that were chasing PS 130 were smaller. Okay. And that matters. I think that matters. Alexis had 10 kids with chances to score, means he has better odds. This isn't always true. For example, I think in the K3 championship section, for example, last year, we won that section also. And we only had 5 kids in that section. And they were a good 5. They were just a good 5. And the team chasing us was almost 3 times the size. Now, again, a bigger army tends to mean better odds, but we had, the player that finished first in the section as an individual happened to be aligned with our school there, and the stars lined up, and he led us into first place. So you have the right players matter. Having strong players matters. Having players that are concentrating on what they're doing their chess kit homework and all of that stuff matters. So size doesn't dictate everything. Just like in any good sport or intellectual endeavor, it's multivariate. There are a lot of things that go into it, and I think that your director for your program is going to give you good advice about where to be. And if your director says, I think your kid should be in this section, and you're not sure why, or you're not sure, you can ask me as well. But the directors are very good. We sit around and crunch these numbers all the time, and very good at making sure we get kids in the right sections. We don't want to put kids in sections where they're going to be knocked around all weekend. We want every kid to have a chance to win. And that's why having sections like this matters. The eternal question about whether or not under sections are worth running in these events. Shouldn't it just be open sections? Shouldn't it all just be championship heavyweight? And, I think I'll anticipate Danny's answer, which would be the K6 Open, K5 Open, K3 Open, K1 Open. Those are the official national champions for those age divisions. Okay. If you're going to be the primary national champion, the team that finishes K3 Open is it. The team that finishes K3 under 1,000 first place cannot represent themselves as the primary national champion. They can certainly go tell their school all about their accomplishment. They can tell their community and their neighborhood all about their accomplishment. They can share it with their grandparents and family and friends and everything else. But they cannot represent in any official capacity that they're the official national champion. So these sections give kids at all levels of play an opportunity to be part of the biggest stage in scholastic chess. And they're important for that reason. They're a headache for the organizers, but they're important for that reason. A kid that's rated 300 doesn't belong in the open section. Now you could say, well, maybe they don't belong at the national championship at all. I don't think that's true. I think these sections give them a place to play. And I like the fact that the national championship is inclusive in that way. So this should answer, I would like this to serve as a general answer for anyone out there who's wondering, should my kid play? Should my kid come? And the answer, I believe, is pretty flatly yes. If you want to get on the phone with me, I'm happy to. You send me an email, we can jump on the phone, and you can give me your case for why you're worried about your kid, and I will speak to it. I will be happy to speak to it. If your kid just learned how the pieces move a week ago, probably should wait till next year. If your kid knows how the pieces move, but just isn't super motivated, doesn't really study chess, and just shows up to club once a week and goofs around and has fun, that's perfectly fine. Maybe they should wait until next year for the national championship. It's a serious event. It's a long event. It's a grueling event. The days are long. I return to the schedule here. Saturday is 3 rounds. Okay. A morning round, a midday round, an evening round. This round will end, round 5 will end at 8 or 9 p.m. at night. Your kid's going to come staggering back into the team room. It is not for the faint of heart. But that does not mean that beginners or kids that are striving, that have not reached the top of their clubs, shouldn't be there. They should be there. If they care and they want to and they work, they should come. Your kids should come. So again, get in touch with me if you want to discuss it. I'm happy to discuss it. I think it's a great event. It's a great event for kids that have a long game in mind. Like, I just started, I'm working hard. I'm only in 2nd grade. I'm going to be in this club for 3 years. It's a good event for such a kid because they get to come, get their feet wet. They get to see what the big stage is like. They get to participate at a serious level. And and then they get to build an idea for next year. Teams that are in rebuild modes in professional sports, they like their young players to get a taste of the stage. They like them to be out there and see what the real game's like. And this is it. This is the best game there is. And so you should definitely come. Somebody asked in the chat, I just happened to spy the question, what are eligibility requirements? There are none. Your kid needs to know how to play a legal game of chess, and they need to understand something about the function and organizing principles around tournament play and how it works. But you don't have to qualify in any way to come to this event. I will note one other thing about this though. Let me return to the section list. This is an important feature. If your kid is unrated, this is a kid that now we don't send unrated teams to these events. We meaning ICN, our school's PS77, PS130 kid. We don't send, as a general rule, we don't send unrated kids to these events. Our kids get rated in their play, in the weekend play, and we send rated squads to these events. And unrated kids either have to play in the unrated section or the championship section. They can't play with their teammates in the under 700 or under 1,000, no under sections. And since an unrated kid, generally speaking, doesn't have any business in an open section, they could end up playing solo alone in an unrated section. Not as much fun. Now, I would say the basic remedy for that is to get rated. Now, it is only March. This tournament is in May, and they're going to use the May supplement, which means you have basically until about mid-April to play some rated games and get a rating on the record and be able to play. They say May rating supplement will be used. That will become locked in. I think it's the third Wednesday of the month. Danny can verify if I'm saying something wrong. And so they should play rated events right now until mid-April and get a rating. It may not be a perfect accurate rating, but it will matter. It will matter for this play. Because if your kid comes in, plays a few rated events and ends up rated 400, then they can join their teammates in K3 under 700. It will be a very sensible place to play, and a 400 level second or third grader will find a lot of good competition there.
Deal?
Hello?
Okay, great.
Oh, you were muted. You were unmuted there, Lori. Okay. I'm sure I'm missing things about this. I'm going to move forward a little bit. Can circle back to it. I'm going to actually ask Danny a question about this, and maybe I'll pass the mic to Danny here for a minute. If Danny can mention, I think he might have a few things to offer here. But I did actually, Danny, I wanted to ask you about the trophy shipping idea. I noticed this a lot. It seems a lot more that they're shipping trophies from the event, but it's quite expensive, isn't it, to have them shipped from the event to home? It looks like, oh, I'll have someone else ship it and then it'll be easy, but it is somewhat costly.
Yes. So let me go into the trophies because it relates to the prizes if you want to go further up, and I'll sort of double back.
Got it.
Because the trophies are really for team trophies. So team trophies are one, and they're these large trophies. There's a change in the structure of the events now at the national events, and you might see this come to the state tournament in Saratoga soon. It says individual medals. That is very important. I need to highlight that for everyone here tonight. These medals are beautiful. The medals that US Chess gives out are gorgeous. For those of you who have gone in December or last year in Columbus, they are very nice. You don't really need to ship them. You'll be able to wear it home, which is kind of a new feature. Instead of having the large trophies of the past, there's been a transition and a change here. So they are very nice medals, and that is the prize that's being awarded, including gold medals for first place in any section. So it's sort of a seed change there, Ian. So that relates to the shipping, because really you're only shipping team trophies. So great. That's an answer there.
Excellent. Now, Danny, did you have any bullet points you wanted to touch on now, or should I just keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've covered most of it in regards to there's always a section for you or for your kid, because I think that's important. You know, I would say try to use the host hotels wherever possible,
Yeah.
because US Chess takes a lot of effort into finding these sites, and this is the first time the event has been in Baltimore. Now, I'm not running the tournament, but I am the person who helps review the tournament. I'm sort of a advisor to all the families and the coaches. If you've seen me before, it's probably because you saw me in Saratoga. I was running that tournament in Saratoga. So there's a lot going on in chess, and everyone's pretty well coordinated. I would say make sure you know where your hotel room is in relation to your team room. Sometimes it can be a walk. Can we go to the round times and the time control, Ian? Because that's a change for this year.
Sure. There you go. Yeah, I didn't mention the time control at all. That's important. I didn't see it.
So,
actually.
well,
There it is. Time
so
control, game 90, delay 10.
yes. So last year there was game 90 delay 5. This year there's delay 10. That way there's an extra grace period. It's going to be somewhat similar to what Saratoga was.
Great.
But with 90 minutes to start each game. You will notice the round times are also different for this year. And part of the reason for that is you will see 4.5 hours between each game on the middle day. So there should be enough break time between rounds so that the kids can have lunch, the
Right.
kids can relax a little bit, there's downtime. So it's almost like pacing yourself. Playing national events is you got to pace yourself for the 3-day grind. But there's a little bit more time between each game for all sorts of activities. You can take your kid off site. You can check out Baltimore in downtown. But again, this is the chess tournament first, and I want to help reinforce what Ian has been saying, because it's going to be a long weekend. And the number one thing I would say is eating and resting when you're not when the kids are not playing. So look, I think it's the closest that the elementary has been to the tri-state area in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge plus as well. In DC, and this is my answer regarding the spring nationals versus the December nationals. The December ones are open sections only, right? You're going by just your grade, but
Yeah.
the spring nationals have a section for everyone.
Right.
So there's a big difference there. You have, anyone who likes chess and wants to go, sure, because it's the time to see what it's like. And then ask your coaches, ask them. Most of them have my email address. So if there's a question that comes up and they need my information for help, the other email, Ian, if you want to put it in for the chat, is nationalevents@uschess.org. And the reason for that, yeah.
uschess.org. US.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I know. That's the tournament's sort of place where you can ask them any question.
National events at uschess.org. Did I type it right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And so what that will do is if you email them a question, what section am I in? Or how do I register? Or my child needs to take a buy, or any sort of thing that can come up, right? I'm sure the coaches do that as well, but that's a message for everyone so that you know how to contact the tournament,
Right.
because that's the best way.
Excellent. Yeah, you actually just reminded me of two things I didn't hit, and I do want to touch on. I touched on before, but I didn't close the loop on it. One is requesting buys. When you register for this event, when you're on the main webpage, you go up here and it says register online. The process is pretty solid. It's pretty straightforward, but there will be a moment along the way where you're given the option of taking buys. A buy is basically just you're agreeing to not play one of the rounds. Now, there are many reasons why you may want to skip a round. It might be legitimate. Like, for example, your kid has a very important test Friday morning. They can't make it to the event until noon or 1 or 2. They have to skip the first round. There's no way around it. It affects where they go to middle school, or 1,000 things can come up like this. The event is built in a way that you can request to miss that first round and not lose anything by it. Now, when you request a buy of the event, you get a half point, as though you drew the round, as though you played it and drew. if you end up with a bye because of something happened from the event itself, they will give you a full point. And if you end up with a bye because you just blipped it and your kid didn't show, or you did something wrong, you will get a 0 as though you played the game and lost it. But a requested bye in advance, where you let the event know in advance, we will not be there for round 1, or we will not be there for round 7, or whatever the round is in question, you will get a half point bye, and you do not have to be on site to redeem it or play. Now, my advice to you is, some people start thinking, oh, like maybe we should request a bye for the middle of Saturday. Like we should just take that round off and go for a walk or what? No, don't. You're not there to skip rounds. So if you can play all 7 on the schedule, play all 7. It is the point. You're representing a team. You're representing yourself. Play all 7 rounds. As Danny mentioned, they are well spaced enough in the schedule that they can be played. They can all be played effectively, as long as you are minding your health along the way, resting, eating proteins, eating fruits and vegetables, drinking lots of water, giving your kid lots of hugs, making sure they get lots of hugs, and a game analysis after the rounds, and general rest. If you've got a free hour, do something relaxing. I always say this every time around. I go to war about this with parents in the past. I don't go to war anymore, but I do mention it. I do not recommend taking your kid to the pool between rounds. Don't recommend it. It's like an energy suck. It will take the life right out of them. They may look normal when you walk them back to the team room for the following round. They will not be normal. They will collapse halfway through that round. They will run out of energy. They will stop making thoughtful decisions, and they will likely lose the game. It's just the way it is. Take them to the pool at the end of each day, fine, because then they will sleep like babies and they will be ready to go in the morning. I very much don't recommend letting them go to the pool. Running around outside is similar, but the pool is different. It is next level the way it zaps your energy. You don't notice it. Game 90, you heard that right. Game 90, delay 10. 90 minutes for your child's clock and 90 minutes for your opponent's clock. That's a total of 3 hours. Yes, the games are 3 hours long or longer with the delay on each move. It's the national championship. That's how they're supposed to be. It doesn't get any more serious than this for Scholastic players. And so game 90, it's important. They should use as much of that time as they need or want to make effective, smart, strategic, concrete, clear decisions. They need that time. Their coaches are going to give them these speeches as well. But game 90 it's terrific. By the way, in the old days, this event used to be game 120. And each kid had 2 hours, and the rounds started at, I don't know, some ungodly time on like Saturday's round was
I'll tell you, because this is something that has been modernized and changed.
Yeah.
So it used to be game 120 and 5 with the rounds at 9, 2, and 7 on the middle day.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that there's constant change even now into trying to figure out what is the best time control. That is something, Ian, that the Scholastic Council is actively working on at this time.
Oh, okay.
But so it's
Are they
it's
considering shortening it even more?
if it shortens again, it would be to have a delay or increment of 30, which would allow a forced requirement for notation.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's what we're looking at now. You might see a survey about that at the tournament.
Excellent. Okay.
But there's one other thing, Ian, I wanted to point out here, which is the dreaded entry fee. Because and the reason is the first line, enter by April 24th.
Yeah.
If you know that you're going and you know you want to make plans to go, enter the tournament by April 24th.
Yeah.
That way you don't pay more than $80.
That's the normal price. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it goes up significantly after that. So please, I will make sure to message this out to our teams as well. Well, in advance.
This is for coaches and directors here, Ian. Can you note line 4? This is important. This is. I know they're going to enforce this, so
okay.
So be careful with that.
Okay, that is an important note because like I said earlier, something that was sort of at cross purposes with this. I said earlier that just get your kid registered. We can change it later. But if they're going to enforce the change fee, then we need to be clear about where we're putting kids in sections. And we'll make sure if for anyone who's listening to this and is not sure, our directors and our coaches will be in touch, and we'll make sure we get clear information to you about which section your kid belongs in, so that we're not registering in needing to change in the wrong place. And Danny, just to be clear too, if a kid registers, if a kid's currently rated 890 and they register for K5 under 900 and they play a rated event and it pops them over 900, you guys will automatically move them, or we need to alert the tournament about that? Will they be automatically moved to K5 under 12 or the next section up?
Oh, so what will happen is you will get an automatic bump. For Saratoga, what happened was Bob Messenger or somebody from CCA would email and say, your rating is too high, you must be moved. There are a couple of situations where you might get moved at the Nationals. One is exactly that scenario. Let's say your March rating right now, let's say your child's March rating is 880 and you play in the K5 under 900. If their May rating ends up being 960, then you're not eligible for that section. So what they'll usually do is they'll tell you what sections you can play, or they'll move you to a section and you should tell them if you want to play in a different one. There is a second, Ian, there is a second way that you may be moved. Anyone who enters an under section, their rating will be reviewed. Okay. And this is unique to the Nationals, which has to do with alternate ratings. You see this line here, players with over the board ratings, alternate ratings, also peak ratings. How about online ratings? So if any player has an online rating that is 200 points above their over the board, the tournament might use your online rating instead.
Now,
So,
Danny, just to be clear, online rating means the official USCF online rating, not Lee Chess or chess.com.
No, Lee Chess, chess.com, Chess Kid, none of those ratings ever matter for a normal over the board tournament.
Good.
It's just the US Chess online rating. When I did this last year for the elementary, there were a lot more players who fell into that because they had only really been playing online tournaments up through that point. I don't foresee many to fall into this, but you might get an email saying that the tournament has said that, you must move to a different section. If that happens, you should talk to your director and coach, and they can reach out or help you and guide you through this process. So that's another note about.
No, that's important. That's really important. That's important. And one other thing I wanted to mention here, folks, about the whole rating concept. If your kid is not rated yet, or they are rated, but you don't know how to access it, or you're not sure what to make of it, you need to bookmark this page. I put it in the chat already. I'm gonna copy it and drop it in here again. This is my favorite page on the whole USCF website for tracking ratings and tournament history and all kinds of stuff. You can look up your kid here, click on look up a member, put your child's name in the box. Just put your child's name in the box. I always use Adrian Summerstein because he's always here. So I'll use Adrian Summerstein. Hi, Adrian. You only have to type as much as you think will make the kid's name unique to pull, the account. Hit enter. It will bring up, any kids' names who match that criteria. So if you type their whole name, you click on their name, and that will take you to their main tournament page, or their main rating page. Now, there's a lot of information here. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because we're almost about to hit the hour mark, and I do want to hit chat questions before we wrap. The important thing to notice is what it says here, current published rating. This number would be the official number you would put into an event that asked you for your published rating, or said, what is your official rating right now? This number here, it will be your rating as of the next publishing, which will happen in April. So this is saying, as of this moment, Adrian's rating will be 1015 for the official published supplement of April. Right now it's 1053. And then sometimes events will say, no, we need to use their live rating. Live rating means just whatever it is up to the date. If you click on tournament history, this last tab, you will see exactly like a running record of everything that player has done in real rated play. So Adrian plays a lot. Adrian's an animal. He plays a lot. So you see Adrian plays a lot, and so you can see every event. The live rating is the one at the top. It's the one that is the closest to the top. That is considered. Oh, Danny, what'd you say? Live ratings will almost certainly not be used at large events. Live rating is almost never used. Sometimes in local tournaments, they will use your live rating. If it's like our local quads or something, sometimes we use live ratings as a function of quadding players up. Yeah, and I think this, Danny, you mentioned earlier, it's an interesting feature of, sometimes players maybe might have a peak of 1100 or something, but they really want to play in the under 900, and so they lose a lot of rating points on whatever. People do this sort of thing now and then. It's not common, but it does happen, and that's why I think USCF is dedicated to making sure kids are playing in the sections that really are appropriate to their tournament history and their rating level, their strength
Ian,
level.
can
Yeah.
you go to the National High School for me for just 1 second so I can show you what this looks like? It's on the left-hand side. If you see the high school,
There
the
we
high
go.
school is taking place next week. So there's a lot of stuff here, but scroll down to the rating review reports. So if you see, click here for rating review report. On occasion, you'll see this. And so this report will help you see, who's getting rated or re-rated or resectioned for various reasons. Sometimes in the high school, it could even be a FIDE rating. So there's some other things. There's also Northwest ratings, Ian. They get adjusted. The tournament is always going to make sure that your child gets as fair pairings as possible. That may not mean that it might get rated correctly, because sometimes some players don't have US chess ratings that are the exact right thing, but
Yeah.
they want to make sure, just like Ian with Canadian players at Saratoga.
Got it.
So there's
Great.
all sorts of different things on that front.
Good. That's good to know. Yeah, they take it very seriously, and I think it's worth pointing out that I think in the old days of paper and pencil tournaments and things, it was very difficult to do all this stuff, track all these things, make adjustments on the fly. But the major tournaments have gotten very good tech-wise at keeping on top of things and making sure that these events are fair. They run in a timely fashion. There's not a lot of delays. I mean, Saratoga worked like it was like clockwork. There was not a single delayed round. There were no, now you're smiling, Danny. It may have been chaos behind the scenes, but as far as the players' experience and parents' experience, it was. I can say it was essentially seamless. The national events tend to run the same way. Things happen. I mean, sometimes a kid fails to report their result and they go running off to the pool or outside, and then you've got maybe a potential mess. But we keep all our kids connected to their coaches and their directors, and we make sure that if we need information, we can get it quickly. So I don't worry about any of that kind of thing. To go back to this for just a moment, as I was mentioning, this is where you can find the published rating that you will need to gauge which section your kid will be in. Now, what you're going to want is the number that says published rating as of 2023-05-01. The May supplement is the number they're going to use for nationals. Now, you can probably gauge from where your kid currently is. You can get a good benchmark for what section they're likely to be in. If you consult with me or your director or your coach, we can plot a pretty good course to where your child will need to play in May. It's not that far off. I mean, it's still a ways off. There's still a lot of time to get work done, but there's we can make pretty good guesses most of the time where kids are supposed to be. So as I say, this MSA home, member services area homepage, I find very valuable for finding things. And then if you need to become a member, if your kid does not have a rating yet and needs to become a member, I'm going to put this in the chat as well, just so it's there. You need to join, and you need to play some rated games between now and mid-April. I would say get on it, get your kid rated, and come join us at quad. I mean, we're running quads, we're running Grand Prix events all the time. Our tournament events, all this stuff is on our homepage. You can find rated play every weekend between now and nationals. Easy. You can play 6 rated games every weekend at our Grand Prix. So get your kid rated, get their feet wet in the rated world, in the rated sections, and then nationals will make sense, the sense of where they belong. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now for a second. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna scan the chat quickly. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this because it is 8 o'clock and I want to let people go. The difference between this event and the one in Virginia a few months ago, that was the grade national championship. The grade national championship, as Danny I think mentioned already, is it's an open tournament divided sheerly by grade. So you play only kids your own grade, and there are no undersections. This is a tournament. So it's called the grade national champion because they crown one champion for each grade and then one team champion for each grade. This is nationals in May is geared around elementary, primary, and K1, which is different in that way. Looks like someone reports the Hilton has availability on the website. Yeah, if you play unrated players, I think generally speaking, rated players don't suffer much rating change when they either win or lose against unrated players, precisely because an unrated player is an unknown. And so I think if you look at the rating record of someone who's had to play an unrated player, there generally isn't going to be much of a move in terms of rate. I think you might gain or lose a few points, but you will not take a huge hit if you lose to an unrated player for that reason. Okay, let me see what else. Yeah, Danny, that's good to mention. You mentioned in the chat, people might have seen up to 2 half-point buys are available for families who can't make a 3-day event. That means you could skip Friday or you could skip Sunday. If you can get 2 half-point buys, if you want to come and start the event on Saturday, I don't recommend doing that. It's a national championship. You want to be playing all 7 rounds. You don't want to skip days. But if it's the only way you can participate, if it's the only way you can play, like we just cannot be there Friday, but we can be there Friday night and start Saturday morning or whatever, I say do it. Take 2 buys for rounds 1 and 2 on Friday and be there and play. It is worth it. And that is a nice feature of buys. That is a nice use of buys. But I wouldn't say we don't feel like playing a 3-day event, so we're gonna skip Sunday or whatever. It's not a good mentality to go into the event with, generally speaking. Let me see if I missed anything else. Are kindergartners expected to notate their games? I would say I don't think
I can answer this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can answer this. So the sections will tell you at some tournaments, like at Saratoga, it was dependent on age of player, but also by section. At the elementary, all the K1 sections and then the K3 class sections, that's under 700, there's not a notation requirement there. However, if you are playing tournaments locally, you should start to learn how to write your moves.
Yes.
And so I think you're encouraged to write from the coaches, but is it a requirement of the tournament? No, but you're also losing the opportunity to make a claim, to review your game. You have plenty of time on the clock, but it is not a requirement. However, if you are writing, and this goes for everyone, this is a tournament that provides the score sheets to all players. Therefore, you can't bring your scorebook in. You just bring your pencil and your clock, you sit at your board, and you get your score sheet there and bring it back.
Good, thank you. That's extremely helpful. Now, I will say, I will come over the top of that and be a lot more strict about it. We really do pressure the kids to learn notation and to use it as a tool, as a feature of play. It is not okay to have a casual attitude about notation if you are a competitive player. Now, some kids have trouble with writing, or they, kinders or little kids sometimes have difficulties with writing and they're not ready to embrace that feature. That is fine. But, and we understand. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I know how it is. Kids sometimes just can't get it together to write if they're 5 years old or 6 years old. That just sometimes doesn't work. But we really do encourage it strongly, and we work on it in clubs. Our kids are learning that. All levels of kids learn notation in our clubs. And like Danny said, if you don't write the game down, you lose the ability to learn from the game. You lose the ability to make a claim about the result. You know, if the TD comes around and says, hey, we don't know the results of this game, and one kid says I won and the other kid says I won, you know, the notation tells the tale, or at least informs us about what we likely should consider the right answer. If you don't have the notation, you just give away the option to make any claim about it. It's very important to be able to make a claim about it. Okay, Shayna has a very good question I want to make sure we talk about as well. Where are parents waiting? What are parents doing here? And in Saratoga, it was very, very difficult. We had a bit of a bottleneck spot, and we didn't have anywhere for parents really to be. This will not be true in Baltimore. The team, well, we're going to make sure we have team room space in Baltimore, and I think generally speaking, this facility is going to have space for people to. There's a Starbucks there. There's a
So
cafe.
I will say this: if your child's in the K1, there is a specific at national events a K1 waiting room. So
Yeah.
if you're playing any K1 section, you just wait in the waiting room, and then your kid will be going out through the waiting into that waiting room to get dismissed.
Got it.
I know,
Good.
I know in Saratoga that was hard, really because of the layout of the tournament and the pressure on the numbers of the overall capacity.
Yeah.
So that was part of the reason why in Saratoga it was not as easy.
Yeah.
But I think the you just set a place for where you are, and then you tell your child that, and then they will walk out to where you tell them, and you set that probably during the first day. And you
Yeah.
probably keep a consistency to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes your kids will learn where the team room is and eventually just walk back on their own.
Yeah,
Um,
and our
but that's
coaches usually train the parents and kids to do it on the first day, and then they manage it from there. Danny, do you happen to know? I don't know if you would know when they're gonna release team rooms for
for elementary. You know, I with the high school being next
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
I would assume that they're going to post the elementary team room stuff right after the high school.
Okay.
Partially because there's a lot of logistics going on with the high school right now. They had to move the Blitz tournament and a couple other things.
Okay.
So and
That's
it's the same group. It's the
Yeah.
same group that organizes all three events. So I would give them a little bit more time. I do know that they have plenty of team room space here. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot more room to walk around. So it should be better on the crowd control side here
Totally.
than at Saratoga, but also you might have to walk slightly longer distances to get from your hotel room to the team room,
Yeah, yeah,
team
yeah.
room to the playing room, all that
No,
stuff.
I mean, Saratoga was very difficult because after the Saratoga Hilton was sold out, it was, you know, a lot of people were staying very far away. So I think this is going to be better no matter what. I do want to return to the notation question for a moment. I see Tara had a follow-up, said that her kid knows how to write, but it slows her way down. I think it's important to note that because the time control is very long, taking time and going slow and notating is actually a plus. That's a feature, not a bug, of how that's set up, and it should be beneficial to your kid generally. And then Jenny, you mentioned on here that they have special notation versions of notation sheets where you can circle the moves or you can circle the squares. I don't know if they're going to allow kids to be using those.
Ian, I will answer this. So this is something, if you go to the US Chess website and look at the national events calendar, if you can open maybe a new window, you'll see on the national events calendar, just click the homepage and then go to national events calendar.
Here.
And then you'll see score sheets for US Chess National Scholastic events. So the standard one.
Got it.
Now, I will say this. I do not like the beginners one. I think that it needs an adjustment. The adjustment it probably needs is to give you a guide at the bottom that says K equals king, rook equals R,
Right.
Knight equals N. But the one I want them to see what the beginners one looks like. But usually most of the kids will end up using the standard one anyway. So the beginners one is it was a new thing introduced in 2019.
Yeah, I really dislike this thing intensely. I can show it here. Hang on a sec. I have to it's a PDF that loads separately, so that's why I have to unshare. and
But
then
the standard one has adequate boxes. This one is hard because it's going to be hard for them to transition from this
I
one.
really, I find this, I can't imagine how this is easier for anybody to navigate. Why you wouldn't just learn it? This to me is a total useless document. But okay, I'll believe someone if they say no, kids really love it and it's easy to use and la la la. I would just say I would agree with you, Danny. Just learn how to do it basically the right way. Just use the right tool, and then you don't have to deal with that
Well,
spec sheet.
Take a look at the standard one
spec.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a look at the standard one because the standard one has big enough boxes, so there won't be like tight boxes for any of the kids. So they'll be able to
Okay.
write, the letters well and everything like that. So it should be okay on that front too.
Okay, one sec. I can show the normal one, I think. There we go. Everybody see that? Yeah, I mean, this is just this is a standard score sheet, easy to use. No issue. It should be straightforward. I don't know why this thing's not letting me. Let me jump back out. Okay. I think I'm going to check the chat quickly again one more time just to be sure, but I think we pretty much covered it, and I want to give people a chance to get to their evenings and get their kids in bed and all this sort of thing. Oh, clocks. One last thing. Clocks. You do not have to have a clock for this event. It's nice to have one, but it's the kind of thing where if your child is not accustomed to using one and doesn't currently have one and doesn't get a look at one, I wouldn't recommend sticking a clock in their hands as they go off to play the first round of nationals as their first experience of clocks. Buying them a clock so that they can carry it into the tournament hall, not knowing how to use it. I would very much recommend them. If you're going to get your kid a clock, there are lots of, if you just Google chess clocks.
Tournament directors have their preferences on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think this DGT North American is
That's the best one.
Yeah, it's a perfectly serviceable animal and gets the job done. It's not super expensive, and I will say this much: this thing doesn't take a beating well, so I don't recommend your kid like using it to throw it at their siblings and stuff like kids like to pound on clocks. That's just something they do. This when they're sitting around idly, they just bang on clocks. This clock does not respond well to being smashed a lot. But it is a very good tournament clock, very straightforward and actually pretty generally easy to use. I'm not endorsing Chess House or whatever this website is, but I just came to it because it was the first thing that popped up. But anyway, you can find these things pretty easily if you just do a Google search of chess clocks. And chess boards and pieces are provided, score sheets provided. We'll have pencils on site. And I think I answered the clock question and but up. Oh, Danny, I have a question. One of our parents asked, and I actually have this question too. Is there a way we can get a pile of those score sheets and keep them in our team room, or does it have to be something like, can we get them from you in advance and then outfit the kids so they just walk in and go to their boards? They don't have to hunt around for sheets, or you lay them out at the board every single round?
Well, I'm not I'm not a tournament director there. If I see that they're not laying them out, I will tell them you need to lay them out. That's my role.
Got it. Okay.
Because I want to make sure the players don't have to face that type of walking around or whatever it is.
Right.
So what happens is you can print out a bunch of score sheets to practice on, or everything like that. But the score sheets will be laid out on every board in every round.
Okay.
So what that means is the tournament directors go around at the end of the round and they lay out the score sheets for the following round. So that's just the way that it works. One thing that I've seen at nationals sometimes lately is that kids lose these score sheets. So therefore, when your child is done with their games, just keep the score sheets in a friendly place or copy the score games into maybe their scorebooks. But that's just something that it has to do with, one, providing a level playing field for everyone, so everyone is under the same playing conditions. Two, it was actually the Nationals' way of stopping electronic scorekeeping. If you noticed in Saratoga, there was no electronic scorekeeping, and so that's one of the other reasons. So it's part of the process on this, but the organizer provides score sheets. I know it's something different It's just something, as long as you're prepared for it, everyone will be fine.
Great. All right. I want to call it an evening and let everybody go. I want to thank everybody for coming. Thanks, Danny, for making the time to jump in with us here tonight. And I think this is going to be a major, fun home run kind of event. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a blast, and I think we're going to do well. We should load up the kids and get them there. We'll do our best to coach them along and get them the results they want. So we look forward to seeing you there soon. And as I said before, if you have any questions or anything, reach out to me or reach out to our directors and let us know, and we'll get back to you soon. Good night, everybody. Bye, Adrian. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Bye.